Take me down, hold the ground. Don't look back, there's nothing for you. Take the sound here and now. Just say that you know what to do. And I'm crawling through the wayside, trying to find my old life without you. And I
And just like that, look, it all worked today, like it's supposed to work every time we fire up. Welcome into Press Pass Live, your weekly OMFL podcast show. The OMFL, the world's oldest and longest online Madden CFM in the world, started in 2001 as a PC league, still going strong today. I appreciate you for making time for me here on a Monday night. I'm flying solo for now. I think Dwayne is playing his OMFL game. And I think Mr. Maniac is going to be joining me here in just a couple of moments. So we've got a lot to talk about, a lot for us to unpack. I appreciate you for being here and hanging out with me as we begin to do that. Make sure to reach down there and hit the like button. If you're not part of the Grown Folks community, we're a community of leagues, clans, games. If you play it, we got a group of adults who play it. Got to be over 18. If you're looking for a cool group of people to come hang out with, enjoy the hobby that we all enjoy, then this is the place. Details down in the Discord. Make sure that you come and you check us out. All right, let's get over here and let's recap some games that have been taking place here in the OMFL in the last couple of weeks. There's a lot that we can begin to unpack here, and we're going to try to do that right away. Let me go ahead and fix some of this stuff right here. I forgot to kind of get that all rocking and rolling here just a little bit ago. We got it fixed now. What's up, Mr. Maniac? Welcome in, Mr. Maniac. The commissioner of the College Deuce, owner of the Buffalo Bills, a man that has come back from death itself only to grasp the heavenly brand new internet that is now in West Texas. How you doing tonight, bud?
I'm doing good, man. I had to... sorry I'm late, but I had to reset my connection linked with Discord and PlayStation, so I had to figure all that out before I can get in here. So,
yeah, the joys of technology and having to like refigure things out, it's never fun. You still don't sound amazing, though. Are we feeling better?
I am feeling better. I have been through extremely a lot, man. And I'm still, I have a doctor's appointment tomorrow. My blood pressure was extremely high from this ordeal, and I guess other things health-wise and stuff. It just kind of set it off and set me on a different path now. So I'm trying to take care of that part of my life. But my voice, the medicine that I'm taking, it actually says it can mess with my vocal cords, and it has. So that is not good on my part, because I lead worship at church, and so my vocal is kind of part of me, and I hate it because it definitely makes me sound like I'm raspy or whatever. But and I do feel more tired than I have a lot. That ordeal with the cellulitis, whatever got into my blood, man, it did a number on me for sure, man. But I'm well, I'm kicking. God's kept me, and I'm here. That's what counts, man.
Well, I'm glad that you're here, bud, and on the men, we're definitely going to be praying for you, and yeah, you're here, and that's all that matters. We can figure all the other things out. Well, I had given you originally the recap, so do you feel up for it? Recapping a couple of games from week 10 through 12?
Yeah, if you want to go ahead and do week 10, so because I'm still trying to get loaded up in here,
I'm
so
gonna
that
let
way
you
we're
get
not.
loaded up. Well, we'll let Maniac go ahead and get loaded up. We'll cover a couple of games here that we think might have been games that you enjoyed watching. My wife also messed with my camera this weekend. She needed to like use it, and so it's like it don't look quite right. But I'm gonna get it fixed up before the next one. Week 10 feels like it was a century ago, and we've seen sort of a turn here in the last couple of weeks. I did Press Pass Live alone last week, and we talked a little bit about it then, where the games are starting to sort of get stretched out here as we get towards the end, the middle, moving towards the end of the season where teams are starting to run away with it. But here, a couple of games were pretty good. Denver and Kansas City with a 41-34 victory. What's up, Kev? Denver comes away with a big victory against Luka, who's not having the season he was hoping to have. Atlanta squeaks out against an instant classic game against my Saints. I threw a pick six super late in that game. Just one of those stupid throws that you see it, you know that you are making a bad decision, and you did it anyway. Tampa Bay with a 2-point victory against San Francisco. What? D-Money is a human for this season? He absolutely is. Tampa Bay with a 37-35 victory against those 49ers. Minnesota 28-27 against Jacksonville. That's a big time win there for Nysonger, starting to get some things figured out there in Minnesota. Tennessee with a 31-28 victory over the Chargers. Houston with a 40-3 victory over Tim and the Lions. That's not a game that I thought I would see. And that is a quick look at week number 10. Are you ready for Mr. Maniac?
Yeah, let's
Take it over
rock
for
and
11
roll.
and 12, bud.
All right, so we're looking at week 11. We had some different games here. We had some close games. We also had a few that weren't real close, but I think far as the competition, I think this week it was really like competitive. As you see, Washington, that was a CPU sim game there, but it was a close game. Chicago, Green Bay, that was actually the one I kind of wanted to really key on because man, some of the stats in that game were crazy. But Jacksonville blew out Detroit. Tennessee gets a 35-27 win over Minnesota. That was a really good game that had to start twice. But, man, that was a good game there. Nysonger playing Kobe really, really close there. Miami squeaks out a 20-17 win over Las Vegas. New England blows out the LA Rams 44-15. Cleveland squeaks out another one of those close games with New Orleans. It seemed like you've had a lot of those this season. 24-21. Cleveland gets a win there. Baltimore gets the win 29-10 over Pittsburgh. Atlanta with a game against Denver here with a 28-24 victory. That one was one to watch, definitely for sure. Seattle gets the victory over San Francisco. San Francisco then at this point loses two in a row, 34-28. Buffalo 31
Did you get to watch that game real quick?
What was that?
Did you get to see any of that game?
I did get to see some of not the full game, but I did get to watch some of it. There were some great plays in it, man. There was a lot of back and forth. And,
San Francisco was up like 21-7 or something with like 4 minutes to go. I don't know, some kind of crazy score where they were up 2 scores with like 4 or 5 minutes to go in that game. And somehow I turned it off. I was like, this one's going to the 49ers. And somehow Seattle came back and watched that one. That's going to be an instant classic that people should go back and check out.
Yeah, that one actually went into overtime, I think, as well. So Seattle got the overtime win in that one. So it was definitely an instant classic. Kansas City played my Buffalo Bills. Luka, Sharks fan, man, he has seemed like in every game, but just coming up short. Bills definitely played a really good game. This game got the victory there. Cincinnati. I want to call it Denver, but no, this is Little Koch now in Cincinnati with the Bengals with a 38-35 victory over the Chargers. Man, this game was close. The Jets with a victory over Reluctant Pancake, who is also Bronco men, 34-28. A lot of good games, and then you get Dallas getting a overtime victory, also against Houston. Man, Roger has been really turning it on. He's actually done really well, and man, this game was a great one to watch. Just one thing I wanted to point out with
Busted
the
a lot of people in the
Chicago
goat sheet too.
the Chicago Green Bay game was there was actually a stat in this game that I thought just like really stuck out. Chicago had 27 first downs, man. They were just controlling the ball the whole game, this game, and it was like not even close to time of possession because of that stat right there. And I think that sets Colin apart because he has just been phenomenal on offense with those Bears.
I absolutely agree. Any games in week number 12?
Week number 12. I see. I've got to get myself rolling here because I'm
okay.
still used to this all like taking turns. But week number 12, looking at, I think this was the week that we had a little bit more disparity with. There were some blowouts, and then there was just a few close games. I think there was more blowouts in this week than we had the previous week. Cleveland really dominates the Steelers 34-10. Chicago gets a close victory over the Vikings. Again, Nysonger is really playing good football with those Vikings, and really, and it seems like every game that he's playing. But they get the Chicago Bears gets a 24-17 victory. The game that was kind of like the highlight game for me this week was Indianapolis versus the Lions. We know that Indianapolis has struggled this season. The Lions have struggled. But, man, they played this game right down the wire. The Lions decided to take a 2-point conversion chance and missed it. So that's how the Colts get their second win of the season with a 2019 victory of the Lions. Miami puts a whipping on the Patriots, 49-24. Giants, we see them getting a big victory here. 24-17 over the Buccaneers, who just 2 weeks ago previously beat D-Money. So was that big victory maybe a hangover or whatever? Just intrigue, whatever. But anyway, so the Giants get the big victory over the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. Here's one guy that's really turned it on as of late, Mr. Bird. I think he's got 5 or 6 straight victories, 22-15 victory over the Chiefs. Again, the Chiefs right in the game, just can't get the win, can't pull out the victory. Titans kind of destroy the Houston Texans here. 44-6. Is Kobe back? It looks like Kobe's figuring out some things. I think he's on like a 5-game win streak as well. The Broncos kind of solidifying themselves over there in the AFC West. 41-24 victory over the Raiders. San Francisco says not so fast, Priest. Own your draft pick. So he's making sure he's getting the most out of his draft pick. So San Francisco gets a 41-26 victory over Green Bay. Seattle maintaining that offensive power right now, going on 49-24 victory over Arizona and Joker. Philadelphia 28-17 victory over the Rams. Bill in New York, he's got some building to do there in LA with those Rams, but he's done really well, kept games close, but just not quite good enough to get that victory there. And then Baltimore gets a 27-20 victory over the Chargers.
What's up, Kevin? What's up, Bird? What's up, Lost? Appreciate you guys hanging out with us. Good to see you guys. Lost, hope all is well, brother. I don't get to talk to you nearly as much as I wish I did. We got to make some more time to connect. Life has been out of control for me for the past couple of 6 or 8 weeks here, and hopefully in the next couple of weeks it'll start to get back to some semblance of normal. As we look at week 13, 14, and 15, what are we watching for? Giants and Cowboys. That could be a really, really good one. Cowboys playing right now. That game against the Houston Texans busted a lot of teams. 2 teams that like to score points, Dolphins and Packers. That might be a fun, just kind of fireworks show. Pepper is going to go play Big Hurt, Chargers and Falcons. That could be a really fun game to go ahead and watch. What other games? Seahawks and Jets. Look, Jets not having the season that I know they want to have. Seattle showing themselves to be strong. A sweep, in-season sweep of the 49ers. We'll see how that plays out when we get to the playoffs. But Cincyberg, he can play defense with the absolute best of them. He could shock this one and keep this one a lot closer than people are expecting him to be. Buccaneers and Panthers. Panthers getting some things figured out. Tampa Bay dropping a big game this week here in week number 12. That could be a really fun one. Your Buffalo Bills are going to be hosting those said 49ers. D-Money's coming into town. You faced him before. You played some really good defense this year. That's going to be probably game of the week. You need to go and watch that one. Cleveland Browns and Denver versus Mr. Mile High, Mr. Broncos. Those are two guys that I think have had interesting seasons, but under the radar quiet seasons. I think that could be a really fun game. Looking at week number 14, really getting way ahead here. Jaguars and Titans. You said it. Is Kobe back? Well, Fleury's had a hell of a good season. He's going to need a big victory in this one. Giants are going to go play my New Orleans Saints. Bill needs to continue to win to keep pace with those Dallas Cowboys. That could be a trip 'em up game if he is not safe. Panthers and Eagles. Panthers need to continue to pile up those W's. Now, it depends on what he does the week previous, but that could be a really fun game. Raiders and Buccaneers. Buccaneers don't need to stumble anymore. They're going to need to keep piling up wins in this one. Bears and 49ers. D-Money seems human. He seems beatable. C-Murder. Mr. Collins got some things figured out. That could be a really fun game. Little Koch versus D-Wayne, a possible Super Bowl, OMFL Bowl number 111 preview as the Bengals are going to go face those Cowboys. Both teams who like to play ball a little bit different way. Little Koch will spread them out, send you deep. Dallas is going to slow it down, play that run game. And we've seen teams keep it close, a.k.a. the Houston Texans. And then finally, I'll look at week number 15 as we look way ahead here. Chiefs and Browns, Luka can play with just about anybody. Just depends on if his team shows up that week. Denbrew, he's going to need to be piling up wins by the time we get to this point in the season. Bengals and Titans. Is Kobe all the way back? Well, he's going to have to prove it against Little Koch because he has been pretty dominant this season. Ravens and Giants. Ravens seem to be waking up from their, slumber that he always seems to be in. Well, he's going to have to get it going here against Beal, and Beal's going to need to get some victories. Does Bird's luck begin to run out against the Cowboys? Well, it'll soon tell us as Panthers go and face those Cowboys. Jaguars and Jets could be a really fun one. Colts and Broncos. Bronco Man is had his confidence rocked this season, but I think he might have some things kind of going his way. Big time matchup here on the road against the Broncos. Your Bills are going to go face Tim and his Lions. Tim can show up and hang up points on the best of them, but he's also stumbled out of the block here. Your defense is playing superb, and that offense has got playmakers everywhere. That's going to be a really fun game. Buccaneers and Chargers is going to be a blast to watch this one, as Kevin's going to need to continue to get some wins there. And then finally, Falcons and Raiders. Raiders having a hell of a good season. Big Hurt having a really good season. Two teams as we come down the stretch who are both going to need victories to either win their division or at least stay in the hunt and have a stronghold on some of those wild cards. So that's what we're watching for in week number 15. Now I want to turn the corner and talk a little power rankings and some reverse power rankings. Who are the teams that we think are not having the season that they could be having, but they can turn it around? Our top 5 teams that we think could easily turn things around. And to tie into some of that, I'm going to get over here. And we need to, hold on 1 second. We're gonna change some things real fast. We're gonna, what do we need to do here? We need to, oh, here we go. This is it. That, and then that. That's gonna fix some things that I wanted to fix here. We're gonna use our trusty old Neon Sports and take a look at some of these teams here. Let's go over here to standings. Actually, here's what we're going to do. I'm going to show you the top 5 here in the rankings according to Neon Sports. Let me make sure that this is working. Yep, this is working the way I want it to. Not over here, though. We're going to have to get this fixed. Bam. Oh, why is that not working? Oh, because I got to turn this off. That's right. There we go. Now we got our trusted Neon Sports there for the vertical. Right now, Neon Sports says the Bills, you're maniac. There's the word I'm looking for. Your maniac coach. Buffalo Bills are number 1. The Seahawks are number 2. Browns at number 3. Bears at number 4. That's a bit of a shocker. Cowboys at 5. Broncos, Bengals, Falcons, Jaguars, Giants round out your top 10. Me and you are going to go back and forth here. We're going to give our top 5s, go 4s, go 3, 2, 1 to get to the very tippy top. Open us up with your number 5. Who's your 5th best team here in the OMFL?
Well, my 5th best team, I can't leave myself completely out of this, but I'm putting myself at number 5. I've really had a really good season up to this point so far. I'm really hoping I can continue on that trend. I've got 6 wins straight underneath my belt. The offense and the defense are playing really good. So I've got myself at number 5. I think this is a good spot for me. We all know my past, always get in my head. So, this is kind of where, like, okay, I'm in this top 5 currently, but, there's still some work to be done because there's a lot of these veteran guys that have always been in that top 5, and they're here in this top 5 now. So you gotta give them props. So that's one reason why I got myself at number 5.
There's so many good teams that we could talk about here. The list is almost endless until you get to the bad teams. I would go Jacksonville Jaguars with my number 5th team. There's a lot of good teams you could put in there. I feel like it's like 1, 2, 3, and then 4, A, B, C, D, E, F, G, all the way through the alphabet. I like Jacksonville, man. They're playing really great defense. They got the number 1 offense according for points for, the number 6 defense for points against. Passing offense is a little shaky. Rushing offense is really, really good. That defense is really, really good. He's picking off people left and right since getting Mr. Lattimore. I like Fleury and the Jaguars at number 5. Give me your number 4 team.
Number 4 team is kind of also a newcomer to the top 5 as well. And you got the Broncos at 9-3. He's been putting up a lot of offensive points. His defense has been a little suspect at times, but he's definitely put in and won those games that he's had to win, and he's also won a few that you wouldn't think he could win. So here he is sitting at 9-3, got himself in great position to get into the playoffs. I think he's probably going to win the West there in the AFC. So I got him as my number 4 team.
I'm going Chicago Bears and Mr. Colin. And again, I think it's like 1, 2, arguably 3, then 4, A, B, C, D, F, G. I just think that Colin, with that roster, has really got things rolling. I didn't know that he could get them going the way that he has, but he's got these Bears at 9-2. That's crazy impressive. He's got 3rd for points for him, 23rd in points against. That defense is a little shaky. 2nd in offensive passing, 25th in offensive rushing, but 6th in total defense or in total offense. 24th and 14th and 22nd in defense. Defense has got to get some things, but that just shows you that like that team is lacking talent, and yet he's still sitting at 9-2. Now, one could play the counter argument here and say that that is a pretty ugly division that he is in, but it doesn't matter. You got to win the games on your schedule, and Colin's doing that. He's my 4th best team. Give me your number 3.
My number 3 is Colin. I've got him down the Bears for number 3 for me. He's definitely done well more than I ever thought he would with that roster. Like you said, he's been dominant, and that rookie wide receiver Roma, or I can't even think of his name.
Good luck.
Dues or something like that. But anyway, the dude is just like phenomenal. I think he's like catching everything. I think the last game that I looked, he had like 8 or 9 catches for like 180 yards, 2 touchdowns. He's just all over the field. He's a big, fast wide receiver, and Colin has just been using him to. We all know Colin. He is a great quarterback, wide receiver user, and he gets those guys the ball, and he makes the most out of those playmakers, and he's definitely done that so far in Chicago. And man, I can't even imagine what he's going to do when he starts getting the rest of that roster built up. He's going to be something for the rest of Madden.
I keep saying this, but there are so many good teams that are not going to get talked about in this top 5 because I think there's a lot of really good teams that are clumped up right there. My third best team, is the Dallas Cowboys, and Dwayne, as he is wrapping up week number 12 for us right now. I got to move him down. He's lost two of the last three, or two in a row, something, close like that. Or he didn't lose them, but he had like some tight games. He's sitting at 8-2. He's got a pretty good offense. The passing game, as we know with Dwayne, he doesn't have a great passing game, but he hasn't in a while, and he's still a winning team. That defense is superb. 5th in pass defense, 1st in rush defense, 1st in total defense, 8-2. You got to stick him towards the top there. I like what Dwayne has done there, and he's my number 3 team with those Dallas Cowboys. Give me your second best team.
All right, my second best team is the Seattle Seahawks. When you can go in a season and beat D-Money twice in your division, and he's played phenomenal every other game I've watched, and I've even played him, and it was just by a miracle that I got out of that game with the win, because I had a 2-score lead with like 2 minutes left, and the dude's throwing a bomb. He gets a touchdown. He gets the onside kick. It was just crazy. So he is definitely a great gamer, and man, he has got those Seahawks rolling. Defense is very stout. He's got some great guys in the defensive backfield, and he can get after the quarterback too with his 7-man front there. And so I think his strength is his defense. I think he kind of relies on those guys, but man, he can also, as we've seen the last couple of weeks, put up 40 plus points a game. So he is my second here in the power rankings.
Something about watching the fastest 3 minutes in football on Monday night at the halftime show that just reminisces of my childhood. It just, like, that voice, that music, everything about it just feels like my childhood, my teenagehood. And as the great Boomer said, circle the wagons. My number 2 team is your Buffalo Bills. You got those Bills playing extraordinary football, sort of middle of the pack, upper middle of the pack, across the board, offense, defense. You're doing it all really, really well at a very high level, on the cusp of the top 10 across the board of everything. 9-2. The quarterback's playing great. The defense is playing great. You're making plays. You're making teams earn every single thing that they get from you. And then as we get late in the season, the weather's going to be ugly. It's going to be cold. It's going to be snowy, and teams are going to have to go and play in Buffalo, and that is not going to be a fun thing for teams that have to figure out how to do. Your Buffalo Bills are playing extraordinary football. I got them as my second best team here in the OMFL. And now it's time for our number 1 team. Give me your number 1 team in the commish power rankings here for Mr. Maniac in the OMFL.
Drum roll. It's Mr. Dwayne and the Cowboys. He's always, like I said, he's just kind of always there. There's so many other teams, man. I even thought about dropping myself out of the top 5, because you got the Browns here. You still got the Bengals, Falcons. I mean, so many of them right there that you could talk about. And but I've got my Dakota Nightmare. Always, that's my nickname for him and stuff. The Cowboys. He's 8-2. I kind of feel like he's probably going to fix to be 9-2 here pretty soon, unless something crazy happens in his game. But his defense, man, he's only given up 151 points, and then he scored almost 250. He's on a 5-game win streak. He is just dominant, especially at home. It seems like he's really good there in Dallas Stadium there. And so I just think that Dwayne, until he's like one of the top 3 guys here, until you kind of knock him, Meat Boy, off the top, you got to always kind of put them there, especially if they're in this area there. So got to give it to Dwayne there, being my number 1 for the power rankings.
Browns, Bengals, Falcons, all very deserving of a top 5 spot here in the OMFL. And one can make the case and debate you one way or the other, but I've got to go with the Seattle Seahawks. See, Meek Boy is just playing superb football, as he normally does. He is one of our regular season champions. As we get a live update here, 21-19 in DC. I'm going to assume that is for the Washington Commanders. And now I am completely bust. Okay. So thank you, Dwayne. 2 weeks in a row, put my money on you. 2 weeks in a row, I go bust. I thought there was no effing way that Dwayne loses by, I'm mind blown. I deserved out. Dwayne, come on, man, you're disappointing me. And that's no shot at my guy over there, Shiloh. So he is just absolutely ripping me a new one over here. The Seahawks and Meek Boy, they get back to the conversation, though. He plays great defense. He's got playmakers on offense. He just knows how to call plays. That game against him and you just a couple of weeks ago was an outstanding game of the week type of game that you want to see in the OMFL. Will be, should be, hopefully it is an OMFL Classic game from season 111. Meat Boy's got a great quarterback. He's got great receivers, offensive line, you name it. He's got really good playmakers. But you put that all in the bundle of a very good play caller. He knows when to attack, how to attack. Right now, he's my regular season champion and has been for quite some time. His name should be up there with the D-Moneys, the D-Waynes. When it comes to regular season, his issue is going to be he needs to prove it whenever we get to the postseason. That has been where the bugaboos begin to show up for him, and he begins to show his warts on his team, and he needs to figure out a way to get some victories. And that's our top 5. Now I want to reverse it, talk about our bottom 5. And these are teams that I challenged both Maniac, myself, and Dwayne until he had to go play his game to give us the top 5 teams that are not playing good this season. However they define that, not a playoff team, but they think could easily turn it around with the right draft, the right free agent pickup, the right trade. There's 1 or 2 players, or maybe just a reset button, just a fresh season to get going again. Who would their top 5 be? Mr. Maniac, you ready to talk about our reserved rankings, our top 5 teams that can turn it around?
I am, man.
Let's go number 5. Who's your 5th team that you think could be turning things around?
All right. So there was a lot of teams I kind of looked at here, and I think there's like some, like I'm just gonna like throw out like the Texans, Titans. They were all kind of like ones, but they've also, like, as of late, they've started playing a little bit better, and they've kind of got a couple wins here and there. The Titans definitely with a 5-game win streak, so I kind of left them off this list because he has actually turned things around so far this season and probably getting himself in a possible playoff run. But my number 5 is Shocks fan and the Chiefs. I think he's already got a solid roster out of the box. I think he's just kind of had I don't know, just a hard start, and he's really, and it's not like he's getting blown out every game. He seems like almost every game he's losing by 3, he's losing by 1, he's losing by 6. He's just in the game, but not able to kind of get over the hump. And maybe there's a couple of players on his team that could possibly, if he gets a high draft pick here, he's got the quarterback, he's got the offensive line, he's got the receivers, and he's even got the running back. But maybe there's a few guys on defense that could possibly help propel him to that next stage in this Madden. And I think probably, like, looking at his roster, probably needs a little help at cornerback. I know because he lost Snead in real life to trade, and so maybe some of those things that if he can pick up in this next draft, and then maybe in the offseason with free agency, I think you're going to see the Chiefs get back into things in this next season, pushing the Broncos and the Raiders there for that top spot in the AFC West.
I try to stay away from teams that are hovering around that 500 currently, because it feels like some teams that started out really slow have started to figure things out. I'm talking Kobe and the Titans. I'm talking maybe Joker and the Cardinals. I'm talking Nysonger and the Vikings, right? Some teams that are like right there on the cusp already. The Panthers, the Ravens, like those are teams that sort of took out of this conversation for me. Now, maybe it's a different conversation as we get later in this season. And as I think about my top 5, I think a lot like the top 5 that we just finished covering. There's a lot of teams that you could put in there, a lot of teams that you think have potential of turning things around. But I'm going to pick with my heart with number 5. I'm going Roger and the Houston Texans. He's got that team at 4-8. He played Dwayne really, really close. As you said, went into overtime. Of course, I'm starting to question Dwayne. Maybe he's hitting the juice a little much here tonight. He's got those days off. People are playing him when he's on the juice. His wife's feeding him. No, I'm just kidding. But Roger is a big play potential guy, a guy that he loves to stretch the field, and he makes you sort of play ugly. He's one of those players that makes you play his style of football. And anytime you play someone else's style of football, they control the narrative, they control the clock, they control the pacing. Roger can do that. He's a couple of players away. I think he's my number 5 team that can turn things around. Who's your number 4?
My number 4 is the guy that we've kind of talked a lot about, and currently right now he's sitting with what would be the number 1 pick, and that is the Colts. Bronco Man, he has just kind of hit like a I don't know, like a wall. I don't know. It's like in baseball where the guy gets the ips or whatever. He can't hit the fastball or the curveball, whatever. I think it's kind of like where he's at right now. But seeing him today, he's kind of maybe like, okay. I think Richardson was hurt for a few weeks, and so he got him back, and now he's got his quarterback and his teams. And maybe he can start get things rolling. But I know his defense has been kind of suspect. I mean, he's given up 377 points compared to only scoring 249. So probably needs a little help on defense. And if he continues on the trend that he's at right now, he's probably going to have a top 5. But I think this list may move around because there's like 5 guys there with the chance to get the top pick. So it may be a 5 or 6. But I think it's going to give him a chance to maybe reset his defense a little bit, regroup. I know he made a trade with the Dolphins and got the safety Holland for the defensive backfield. And from what I can tell, Holland already, since he's picked him up, has made an impact in his games. I think he's made an interception every game so far, I think, since he's picked him up. So that's been a big pickup for him, and maybe it's kind of helped him have some closer games in these last few weeks. So look to see the Colts draft, free agency, kind of reload that defense. I think his offense, I think it's set, and I think it's ready to go. He's just got to get a little bit more confidence in himself. But I think that defense gets reset, maybe pick up a couple guys that fits his style a little bit better, and then we're going to see Bronco Man return to being one of these top 5 or 10 teams in the league.
We'll see if the Colts make my list. Coming in at number 4, though, I got the New England Patriots. My guy, Lost Sniper, he's got the quarterback. He's got the import defensive players. That team in the NFL is lacking playmakers. Give him a solid offseason. Give him draft picks. Give him an opportunity to maybe make some trades, spend some money in free agency. I think he's going to get things turned around. I really like the makeup of that team. I think life has been crazy for him. I'm hoping he'll have a little bit more time to not maybe be stressed out with work and life and all the big changes that have happened for Mr. Lost Sniper. But I think this team is on the cusp. He is just waiting for an opportunity to break through. I like him as my 4th best team. Who's your 3rd best team?
My 3rd best team is your team, the Saints. I know you've got some rebuilding to do with your roster, but if you look at what your defense have done, and again, you traded away Lattimore from your defensive backfield, but you've only given up 268 points. So you've kept games, most of the games that I've seen and watched, you've kept them really close. You've played solid defense, just made a few mistakes. I don't even know if your quarterback still fits your style. Maybe there's something that you can do possibly with a draft pick there. I think your offense may need a little help in certain areas. Probably the defense still needs a little help. But I think your team and the way you play, I think you have a certain style. And I've seen you be in these games against some of these top guys that we're talking about are in these top 5 and 10 teams in this league. And I think you still have a chance to, this next season, to start turning things around. And I know you'll say, no, that's not possible. But again, like I said, from what I see in your situation, I think you play really well with those Saints. Those Saints are really not built all that great coming out of the box. and so you've got to do a little rearranging and making this team your team and stuff. But still, with what you've got, you've been very competitive. I know it doesn't show on the record 2-9, but you have bthe very competitive in those games. There's been only a few games I saw that you really got out of hand on you, and you've really put your best foot forward with those Saints that you have. So I look to see you make some splashes and make some good draft picks, and I'm looking to see the Saints improve this next season.
Coming in at number 3 for me has to be the New York Jets in Cincyberg. This is a multiple-time champion here in the OMFL. Hasn't quite had the last couple of seasons that I know he wishes he would have had, but I still think is a team that is right there on the cusp, a team that is a couple of players away from putting it all together. He's got some playmakers, a receiver, a tight end. I know he's got a defense that he can build off of, and that's where Cincyberg really shines. I think his offense, once he gets the quarterback situation figured out, again, I don't know his team like, the back of my hand, but I know that there's some rebuilding that has to be done to that offense. I think Cincyberg, with a really solid draft, which he always seems to do, a trade or two, which he seems to be right on the cusp of doing, I think Mr. Cincyberg and those Jets are going to get things turned around. Going down to our last two, who's your second best team that can turn things around for next season?
I've got the 3-8 Pittsburgh Steelers as a team. I think they can make waves in this next season, turn things around in this draft and the free agency. Right now, he's currently setting at 3-8. That's somewhere in the top 10 picks for this next draft. He's got, if you look at his stats, as far as points for and points against, he's 244, 269 again. He's actually played pretty good games. I know there's been a few that's got out of hand, but he's played really some solid games. I know there's been a few side things going on with issues or whatever, but I think the Steelers, as you look as a whole, I think he's got the quarterback that he's building around. I think he's got the offensive weapons that he's going to build around. His offensive line may need a little bit of work. The defensive line, maybe outside of T.J. Watt and the other defensive end that he's got, maybe he needs a little help there with the middle linebackers. And I think his DBs are a little bit old. I think he traded for a couple of older DBs. So there's some room for improvement there, definitely, for the Steelers. But I think he's kind of like right on the cusp. He's been competitive, definitely in that division. It's tough when you've got the guys that are controlling the Bengals and the Browns and the Ravens. All three of those guys could win the division easily each season and could possibly win it at any moment. So, and the Steelers there are also in that he's been a champion here before, and so definitely he drafts really well. And so I look to him to have a top 10 draft pick. Is currently where he's going, and I definitely see him attacking that defense, getting better on defense, and then if he gets some things figured out on offense, he's definitely going to be in the running again this next season. I think making a push for that division.
I got nothing to add because they're my number 2 team as well. I think Penguins is all the things that you just said. He's a great drafter. He's a great defensive builder, defensive team builder. He already has some key pieces there to rebuild that defense. He's got to figure out a few things. Oh, I was like, what is going on in the background? I forgot Mr. Lost Sniper was advancing us. I thought everything was freaking out. I was like, I didn't press anything. Penguins is going to get things turned around. He's got to get the quarterback situated and figure it out. I think he's got some running back things there to figure out, but I feel like all the pieces that he needs to sort of tweak to fit the style that we've seen him win with in the past, if that's the direction he still plans on going, are all easy fixes for him. I like the Steelers as my number 2 team as well. Who's your number 1 team that can turn it around for next season?
My number 1 team is the Jets. Even though Cincyberg, man, I'm struggling. It's been a while since I've been on a show. Cincyberg, he is definitely one of the top owners here. He always seems to build his teams really well and builds them where they're very competitive and they can be so tough to face at any season. Right now, I think the situation he's ran into, Rodgers is old. Some of his offensive line is old. And I know he's got some older guys there. He's definitely got some good weapons at the playmaker spots to build around. Defense, I think his defense is really solid. You're looking at his defense, I think they're probably maybe like a top 10 tier defense. But he's also had, a new baby in the house, things going on, changes in his life personally. And so I think that also can affect things in his Madden game. But I think this is setting him up to reset his quarterback situation. He's probably going to get some high draft picks if he goes quarterback or if he trades for one. But I think he's going to address that. And then I also think that he's going to get stronger on the offensive line and look for him to make a push this next season because, like I said, we all know Cincy Berg. Usually he's in the top up there, and he's always, like I said, he's always got a competitive team. That's a bad thing for me because he's in the same division I'm in. And but definitely we're going to see the Jets return, I think, to a top 10 team spot this next Madden.
I agree. There's so many other teams, as I said, I could have spoken about. The Vikings, even though they're right there on the cusp. Cardinals, they're on the cusp. They're teams I probably didn't super consider because they're both sitting at 5 and 6. Titans, I've already sort of talked about, and Kobe starting to figure out some things. I could have talked about Pepper and the Chargers. Had a lot going on with the Storms. Twinkie, who always seems to be one of those teams that are on the cusp. The Chiefs, I know what I think of Shocks and his ability. Happy birthday, Shocks. His birthday's today. The Lions and Tim. I know that Tim's got a powerhouse of a team, and he has turned things around before, and so I could see him getting things going. I don't know Shiloh Bad that very much, or I don't know him very well, but I feel like with the rookie quarterback, he's got some weapons there. He can get a couple of draft picks. And then Bill in New York, we've seen him win in this division or in this league before. I think he could he's got a bit of a weird situation there. Older team, he needs some more assets. I've got to go with the Colts. This is a past champion that was so dominant last cycle. And outside of getting married and going on a honeymoon for a bit, he was like there every single season on the cusp of getting to another bowl game. It just hasn't went his way, but he's got the young quarterback. He's got him on a rookie deal. He's got the stud running back. He's got the stud offensive line. He needs a couple of defensive pieces. He's going to go hammer out a hell of a draft. He's going to spend some money in free agency. I think he's got a ton of money. And listen to some of these stats. He is number 1 in offensive rushing. He's number 1 in total offense. He's number 10 in offensive passing. And then it falls off. He's number 28 in points against him. He's number 29 in points for him. He's number 31 in defensive rush, and he's number 28 in total defense. It's just this weird, like, he's either great at something or he's really bad at it this season. And I think he's going to go get the pieces that he needs to get everything back on the straight and narrow. That is a team that I think can turn things around pretty quickly, and I'm looking for him to do it as we move into season 112. Let's you ready to open up the mailbag? I feel like we got a ton of questions, and both of us may be running on a few fumes here, so we'll see if we can't get to it. Let me do something really fast. We're gonna do this, and we're gonna do this. There we go. Let's go ahead and open up the mailbag, Mr. Maniac. We'll see how many of these we can wait on and how many we can do. Mr. Littlecock says, what position group do you feel that you can have less talent at this Madden? Can it be offensive line, defensive line, etc.? That's a really good question. Is there a position group that you think you can actually get away with having less talent at?
I don't know. I have to go with my team because obviously it's the one I have experience with. So I think looking at my offensive line, they're not very talented. I think I'm not even sure if I have an offensive lineman over 80. they've done okay, but I think I am also like the one of the top three uh, quarterbacks sacked also in the league. So for me, I think I would rather have some better offensive line, but they've been serviceable. I think you can be serviceable with less talent, but are you going to be dominant? Probably not. But I think it depends on your game plan, how you attack the offense, how you attack um, your opponent. I think sometimes you even have to change up your kind of your game plan. I think per week, depending upon who you're going to face, because you may want to try to keep tight end more often to help block against one of these teams that have these dominant edge rushers like the Dallas Cowboys with Parsons. You probably want to keep a tight end in the chip every once in a while here and there because Parsons is just so good. That is a really good question. Right now, I can't say, for instance, like, yeah, I think you can get away with one. Maybe middle linebacker area could possibly be one because a lot of guys those guys. So if they get a guy that's very um, fast, able to run around the field, they'll use those guys, and they may not even be like 65 overall or whatever,
Yep.
and can still play really well with those guys. Safety could be another one also because I know a lot of guys use the safety. So maybe in that instance, maybe safety, linebacker are the ones that you can kind of get away with. I think you can be serviceable with less talent, but you're probably going to struggle against certain teams if you don't have those top-notch guys in those positions.
Yeah, you stole my thunder on defense. I think anyone that's usered. So my answer was linebacker on defense. I think safety. You touched on those. Really, you can do well with fast and strong. And when I read this question, I'm thinking less talent means overall. I think you can get fast, strong players at those two positions and play well. On offense, I think it's tight end, wide receiver. I just think all you need is fast and strong. That's it. If you have fast on both of those positions, on both of those sides of the ball, I think you can get away with less overall and still play really, really good. Big Hurt, what single game has been the biggest shocker this season so far in the OMFL? That's a great question. Shocker's tough because it's new cycle, new season. I don't know how many of these are shocking. I will say the last two Dallas scores have been shocking to me. I was just nothing against neither Roger nor Shiloh. I was like, there's no way these betting lines won't get met, and both guys have hung with the Dallas Cowboys. I don't know if any other game shocked me though.
I don't know. Maybe the fact of when Kev beat D Money, maybe that was kind of the shocking, like, oh, D Money is, we all know last Madden where he had lost to Meat Boy a few times in the regular season, but always in the playoffs. Here comes D Money. Here comes the money train. I don't know. That might be one that's kind of like gave me a shock for the season. That's a really tough question. I mean, it's a good question, but it's a tough question because like you got to look back at kind of like what's happened so far through this season, and that's the one that immediately comes to my mind is the Tampa Bay Buccaneers defeating the 49ers. That was kind of like if we had people betting, probably everybody would have bet on the money. Nothing against Kev. We know Kev can put up a lot of offensive yards, but just the simple fact that I think he played really good defense in that game, and I think he picked off D-Money 4 times, and that was one thing that we've always said that D-Money doesn't make mistakes. Well, he got picked off 4 times in that game, so definitely D-Money made mistakes in that game. So I think that would be probably the most shocking so far from the season.
A couple good questions here from Big Herb, and so I'll put them both out there. 2-minute drill. They're both 2-minute drill scenarios. You're down by 7 or up by 7. What owner are you picking if you're down by 7, and what owner are you picking if you're up by 7 to win that game? If I am down by 7, there's a couple of guys that I'm really thinking about. But I would have to, like, if I just had to pick, I'd say Massimo. Like, I wanted to say Denbrew. I wanted to say Maniac. I wanted to say Kevin. Like, these are really, 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 really good players offensively that I think could go and score with just about anybody. But there's something about the sexiness of those passing yards. And now it's a very specific offense. So I'm thinking more about the coach and his own offense, not necessarily the coach in my offense. But I think speed, getting the ball down the field under 2 minutes. I think Massimo would be a fun guy to hand the keys over to and say, go make a play. Who's your offensive guy if you're down by 7?
I'm taking Meek Boy. I know that I did get the victory against him, but man, that last 2 minutes was like, it was like I was riding the pine, man. I was sucking in the butthole the whole time because he was just like, all of a sudden, that last little bit, he just turned it on, and he was just making dart throw after dart throw after dart throw right down the field, and all of a sudden the bomb. It was just like, whoa, he just came out of nowhere, and so I think he would be one, even though Rodgers' record doesn't show it. Rodgers another one that seems like he, like in the last minutes,
Yep.
he just keeps the game close, and kind of makes things get hairy. So, but I'm taking Meek Boy. I think if I'm down by 7, because it just seems like he can make points happen out of nowhere.
If I'm up 7, you could also put Priest in there. I think you got to give Priest a little nod of the cap. If I'm up 7, there's so many guys. I would talk Meek, right? You have to talk Meek. You got to talk Penguins. That guy knows how to play really good defense. You got to talk Cincyberg, who's another one you could probably put into the offensive game plan. You got to put Denbrew. You got to put D-Money, D-Wayne, like the top dogs that you always talk about. You got to talk Kobe, right? He's another guy that if I'm up 7, that I really want to hand the ball over to and say, like, go make a play defensively. Big Hurt, Maniac yourself. You got to put you into that conversation. But if I just absolutely had to choose, I'm thinking outside of the box, I got to go Beal. I think Beal just knows how to put pressure on you. He knows how to attack you. He plays really, really good defense. And when Beal is at his best, it's when he is dominating you defensively. Give me Beal to win me a game. Who's the guy that you're going to hand the keys over to defensively?
You could look at D-Money. D-Money's always one of those ones that once he gets the lead on you, it's like really difficult to get a lead or to get back into the game, because he just kind of puts his claws into you and just clamps down and strangles you. But immediately what came to my mind, even before you said yours, was Bill. Bill plays such good defensive football. It is crazy to watch. I mean, he may not score 12 points, but 8 out of 10 times he's going to probably keep the other team only scoring 10 points, so he wins those really close games. He makes you earn everything that you do in this league. And Madden, I mean, he is just top notch when it comes to defense. I don't know what it is, but he calls the right plays, and he knows when to attack you on defense, like blitzing or whatever. He's just got it. I mean, he's just got the it factor on the defensive side of the ball. So definitely, Bill is like I said, it was the first thing that came to my mind when I read that question was Bill. And like you said, there's so many other guys you could call and bring up that would do really good job. But man, you look at Bill's. If you go through Bill's season, you look at his scores. Just knows how to call those defensive games, and you got to have him in the corner if you're trying to protect that lead. Bill's got to be your guy.
I think my internet hiccuped up or something. I don't know what happened. Like I didn't go offline or drop frames, but my chat reconnected and I lost you for like 4 seconds there. We have like 20 questions, so we may have to like speed round some of these and see how fast we can get through them. Nice Hunger, revamped or classic passing, which do you feel plays better? I know how this one's going to go. Go ahead and tell them why revamped.
If we started the first Madden, I would say revamped all the way. But man, I don't know. There's something like one of the updates like a couple weeks ago. It's kind of made it funky. I don't know what the deal is, but I still am a firm believer on revamp. But I'm not gonna lie, I have kind of dabbled my toes in classic, especially when it like my quarterback's like throwing crazy and stuff. Like, is it the setting or what's the deal? So I'll go in practice mode and I'll throw around classic for a little bit, but I normally always go back to revamp because it seems like it gives you a little bit better control. But man, it's I don't know. At this point, I think they're 50-50. It's just whatever you're more comfortable with, I think.
Yeah, I'm the absolute opposite of Maniac. I just cannot figure out revamp, so I'm classic, and then I practice with revamp. Revamp does some weird stuff on like screens and short throws where it like takes way longer than it should. I do love the control of revamp, but just like some of the like angles I don't know. It feels like movement did. This new movement came in 2 or 3 Maddens ago, and at first it felt awesome because it came in late in a patch, and then we got it for the next game all the way, and the league couldn't update the league with the patch, but I was playing some like offline and played with the movement. I loved it. By the time we got to the new league and the new cycle, it was too twisted, but then it's gotten better and better and better to where it is now. I think revamp passing's that. It's like a good first take, but it needs tweaking. It needs to be better. I'm a classic guy, but you got to do whatever is sort of best for you. Do you feel rookie quarterbacks play different than vets? I say no. I think it's a mental thing. I think rookie quarterbacks, guys try to do things with them before they're able to do them, and so you put the ball in harm's way more often than you probably should have. But Maniac, you've played and had some rough relationships with rookies and veterans. What are your take on rookies playing different than vets?
Yeah, well, I know last Madden, man, I had the rookie quarterback or the first year quarterback, Parker Colt, who'll go down in infamous memory for me as Parker Colt syndrome. And every time I start struggling with my quarterback, I always say, well, he's got Parker Colt syndrome. So, but I do think they play a little different, but I think a lot of it is just, because most of the rookies, their accuracy stats are a lot lower than a lot of the vet guys. Like, say, for instance, like an Allen or a Patrick Mahomes or even a Dak, because those guys have, they're got like high 80, mid 90, high 90s, for all those attributes and stuff. So I do think they play a little different. And like you were saying, I think some guys will get a rookie quarterback either if he's, got a big arm or maybe not so much a big arm, but maybe they'll treat it like he has a big arm. And sometimes it'll show up like when you're trying to make those big, deep passes or maybe those passes over the middle, or that weaker arm will get you in trouble because they just don't have the zip on the ball like some of these other elite strong arm guys do.
Nice Hunger says, is it surprising that we have so many running backs that are averaging more than 5 yards per carry? My answer is absolutely not. I think all pro is going to mean offense is a little bit easier than all, if we went all Madden or harder settings. And so you're always, in my opinion, with Madden, you're going to have a little bit higher averages yard per carry, just like I think you're going to have way higher interceptions, right? Because none of us are real life NFL quarterbacks. None of us do this full time and get paid to do this, to break down film and like all the things that you see in the NFL. So I don't think it's a full 1-for-1. In my opinion, this is what it's always been when it comes to running backs.
Yeah, I'm kind of in the same boat that you are on that. I think I don't think it's surprising. I think a lot of the guys, if you look at the trend what happens is when guys in a league like I mean, I'll admit, like I've kind of struggled passing the ball a little bit myself at times, even with Allen. And so, what's the thing to do? You try to then go to a more conservative style offense, and and all it takes is like if you got a good running back, you get a couple of little creases in a formation. I mean, you can break off a 30-40 yard run easily. Especially if you catch them like in a certain blitz, or because I think a lot of the mentality is still like guys have that mentality from last Madden where it's like pass.
Yeah,
It kind of gets yourself in trouble because this game definitely does play differently in certain areas and stuff. But yeah, I think once you see guys maybe going more towards like running the ball. We're also going to probably see maybe a swing in things like when guys, when the Madden comes out, it always seems like the offensive linemen are real weak, low rated. And then as we start progressing through seasons, they start building up and they get stronger and they start blocking, better and stuff like that. So I think that's where you kind of see things like progress in that situation.
Over the last 3 weeks, what games have surprised you the most? I've already said mine, the Dallas Cowboys. Nothing else really caught my eye. Any of them? I know we've kind of talked a little bit about it, but any of them caught your eye?
I will say, and maybe Nysonger. I think the last few weeks that he's been a way more competitive than I think he was at first, and I think a lot of that may kind of tie into what he's talking about with the running. I think you see a trend with him focusing more on kind of establishing his offense through the running and then playing off of that with his young quarterback. And I think he's finding a little bit of success. So I think you have to look at the Colts. I think they're kind of in the last 3 weeks have kind of surprised getting some of these victories, even against some tough opponents, and even making games really close against some of these high tier opponents that he's been playing.
Bird says there are currently 9 teams with 8 wins or more. Which of these do you think are serious contenders for an OMFL Bowl win? Those teams would be Bengals, Falcons, Cowboys, Jaguars, Broncos, Bills, Bears, Browns, and Seahawks.
Yeah, I can't go against that. I mean, you got Seahawks, and there's probably, if teams that are even down below that, if they get into the playoffs, we've seen guys make noise. The Dolphins have been one that have gotten into the playoffs with a wild card, and all of a sudden, he's representing the AFC in the bowl game. So I think maybe some of the surprising ones could be the Packers, even though he's on a 2-game skid. And looking at some of his stats, I think he's had the intercepting bug come into play again. So, but you look at teams like that, the Falcons. He's been a winner before, but I think you can't ever count out like the top guys, like you said, the Browns, Cowboys, Seahawks. Those guys are always going to be the mix of things, so you can't ever count those guys out.
I think Seahawks are serious contenders, though I put a caveat that we have not seen him do it in the playoffs, so he's got to show something this year. Browns, absolutely. He's won bowl games here before. Colin, I don't know if I can put Colin as a serious OMFL Bowl contender. Playoff team, absolutely. An OMFL Bowl contender, not just yet. I worry about the talent on that team in the playoffs. Bills, absolutely an OMFL Bowl contender. Broncos, I don't know how they're doing it because that team has holes, but he is definitely playing really good football. It's going to be a tough go at it in the AFC, but an OMFL Bowl contender. Jaguars, the way they're playing defense, that will make them an OMFL Bowl contender. And to be honest, he's the number 1 team in points for him because of that defense as well. Cowboys, we know. Falcons, absolutely an OMFL Bowl contender. I do worry about a rookie quarterback, though, when we get to the playoffs. Bengals, absolutely an OMFL Bowl contender. And those are all your teams with 8 current wins. Kobe says, which team has improved the most over the season? We're going to hold on to that one, Kobe. We're going to come back to that one next week. That's why I put a little clock icon on there. And he says, which team will finish on the hottest streak? That's a tough question, just because you got to know like all of the games and schedules. Let me see. Do we have a streak? We don't have a streak here. We do have like the biggest change in power rankings, but that's not going to do what we want to do. I have no clue. I don't even know how to begin to figure that one out, Maniac. But any teams that you think could get on a bit of a run here?
Well, right now in Madden, it shows the streak. The Bills, Cowboys right now are on the highest ones with 6, followed behind Bears, Panthers, and Titans. All 3 of those teams are on a 5-game streak, with the Browns at 4. I think there's going to be obviously I've got D-Money next game, so that's going to be kind of a toss-up. That streak may end there for me. The Cowboys, he just won the real close game by 5 points. But I think your real contenders here, I think probably looking at it, is probably going to be the Bears, Panthers. I think could be the ones. Yeah. The Titans as well could also be ones that could finish the season on a long streak. Definitely, any one of these teams could get hot. Even some of these teams that's got 3-game streaks. I mean, they could go the rest of the season and win out, and be like a 9-streak team. So, yeah, currently sitting right now, I think these 5-streak teams, I think, are probably your best bet to have the longest streak to end the season. Hottest streak.
I can't argue any of those. Bill, why are you putting multiple questions on one post? I need one question per post, Bill. You've watched too many Press Pass Lives for this. He says, and very wordy tonight, Bill. He says there are currently 5 teams with 2 wins in the season, the worst in the OMFL. Do you think one of those 5 teams ends up with the number 1 overall draft pick, or is it their dark horse team who will completely crap the bed the rest of the way to snag that number 1 overall draft pick? I don't think it's a dark horse. I think it will be one of those teams. And I think that let's just be honest, there comes a time where you're like, there's no point in trying to win. Like, I'm going to probably put in backups, younger players. Like, I'm going to do things to where like I can call a game and try, but I'm setting myself up to fail. That happens. It has to happen. Like, you get to a point where it just doesn't make sense to keep pouring into veterans that you're not going to keep, and you need to get those young players XP and start building them up to get ready for next season. I think it's Commanders, Saints, Colts, Lions, Rams. Those teams are going to be in the mix. I don't see anybody else getting that number 1 pick. Any other thoughts from you about the number 1 pick?
No, I think that pretty much covers it. I mean, cause you look in there, it's going to eventually be one of those guys, the 2 to 3 slot, because there's not going to be much room to wiggle there. So it's going to be anywhere from the Chargers on down to the Saints, and it's going to be a tight race, I think, for that spot.
He says now there are currently 7 quarterbacks with at least 25 interceptions thrown so far this season, with 7 games remaining in the season. Do you think that there's an OMFL quarterback who will break the NFL record for interceptions thrown in a season? 42 by George Blanda in 1962. Who let that man throw that many passes a long time ago? Absolutely, it's going to get shattered. 42 is the current record. We got 39 by Jaden Daniels. We got 31 by Jared Goff. We got 29 by Caleb Williams, which is kind of crazy. 28 by Rusty Starr. And then you got a couple guys with 25. I think, clearly Jaden Daniels is going to smash that record. Right behind him is going to be Jared Goff, and Caleb Williams and Rusty Starr are not too far behind it. I think there's no way it doesn't happen.
I think this record has already been broken. Last Madden, I am pretty sure there was one season Priest had like 70
lost
in the season.
You're supposed to let me know that stuff.
So, yeah, I'm pretty sure if I'd have to go back and reload Madden, but yeah, I'm pretty sure he has like 70 plus. It was like 71, 72 or something like that on the season. It was crazy.
What's up, Bronco Man? Good to see you, bud. We've been talking about your team tonight. Mr. Denbrew says, hello, fellas. Thanks for the vine. It's a throwback uniform week here in the OMFL, the longest running CFM in the world. Thank you for that little promo, Denbrew. Which uniforms are your favorites? I really like the Buffalo Bills. I like all those old school, like New England Patriots, Buffalo Bills, New York Giants, Philadelphia Eagles. I like those Atlanta Falcon throwbacks. I think my favorite, though, I'm going to pause before I think about this. My favorite, and I shouldn't, this should be my least favorite because of growing up. But those San Francisco 49er 94 through 97 jerseys were just, there was something about those block letters, the red tops, the white bottoms, the Dion. I think that's his. Dion was a Dion fan. It was Dion's first and only season there. And just, you didn't look cooler than Deion Sanders in the 90s. Like, he was the epitome of cool on the field. And that whole team had swag, and those jerseys were just sick.
Yeah, I'm agreeing with you, man. Like a lot of those, I think one that you could talk about is the Seattle Seahawks. Their old throwbacks with like David Craig, even further back, whenever they first came into existence. I do like the Bills throwback jerseys also, which is kind of cool because I'm using them, and so I have played a couple games with those old. I love the red and white face mask helmet of the Bills. I think that really pops with the blue Buffalo Bill on the side. I think it really pops. But my all-time favorite is the Houston Oilers.
Oh, yes. I forgot about those.
There's nothing more beautiful than that baby blue, whatever that color is, with the red face mask, with the white helmet. It is just magnificent how that just pops. And that was always one of the best matchups was the old Buffalo Bills jerseys and the Houston Oilers. Those are just man, that just takes you back, man.
You absolutely hit it out of the park. You're right. That is the winner. Everything else is the wrong answer. And equally the wrong answer are these new Houston Texan jerseys. Those things are putrid. Those are just like, come on. Like, we tried way too hard on those. Roger, I'm going to say your question, but we're going to save it because it's lengthy and don't have time to get into it tonight. But a little salt from my guy, Roger. Have you spent any time in the scouting section? It's way different than previous years. Is there anything that sticks out to you that makes it better? What are your thoughts on no longer being able to manually adjust your draft board? Personally, I'm a little disappointed in the fact that we wanted a board in any semblance of order. You have to add favorite. Oh, never mind. There's no salt from Roger. I now know what he means. I totally misread that for the first 6 times I read through that question. You're right, Raj. We will dig into that. He means setting like a personal draft board. You have to add favorites in order of how you want it. And you're totally right, Roger. And we will dig into that one next week. I totally misread and misunderstood that question. Twinkie gave us 3 more. We'll see if we can get through these. We're going on an hour and a half already in this show. Woo! Best way to build your team. Sorry, my guy Twinkie didn't give me any commas or nothing here. Best way to build your team should be ? Trenches or skilled positions? Could be a comma there too. Do you like skilled positions or do you like the trenches?
I think we've seen a combination of like some guys building all trenches, and you see some guys building like all skill positions. Me personally, I think there has to be a combination of both. I think to have a successful build of your team, because unless you're just absolutely like you're set completely in the trenches, you got 5 guys starting on offensive line, and you got every backup is capable of being a starter. Same thing on defensive line. If not, you're eventually going to find yourself in trouble, either with an injury, and then it's going to get exposed. So I think you have to maintain the building of both of those. I do lean towards skill position maybe a little bit early on because I think you can find serviceable guys, kind of like what Little Koch said earlier in his question, with later draft picks for the offense and defensive line. But I think there has to be a combination of those two to make your team successful in building them.
I think you hit it spot on. To me, it's the old school portion of me and the way that I build my teams, or at least I invest into my teams, which is also why I suck every single Madden cycle. The last couple is trenches. Like I went last Madden all into the trenches. Early in this Madden, I've been into the trenches. It has not paid me any type of dividends. I think early in Madden cycles, it's skill positions, and as the Madden cycle progresses, it's trenches, and I think it is that balance of the two. When I played the best last Madden, it was after several seasons of building into the trenches, and then I had already started to add on the skill positions. And so I think skill positions early, trenches late. And if you can find that balance in between those two, then you are going to be absolutely golden. Two questions that we'll combine from Mr. Twinkie. Says, what do you think has more value, offense or defense? And then what position? What's up, Benny? So would you like offense or defense is the most valuable sort of side of the ball, and what positions on those side of the ball?
This is a really good question. I think I've leaned towards valuing defense a little bit more here over the past couple of seasons, even from last Madden coming into this Madden. Because if you can keep yourself in a game, I think even though your team may be a little bit weaker on the offensive side, I think you can still give yourself a chance, because one, you're going to create more turnovers, have shorter fields, and put the pressure on your opposing player that you're going against. So I think that pays dividends in the long run if you value your defense more. Again, this is just my opinion, but I also think DBs are really important. I think especially because I've noticed some guys that are not quite as fast, they may be really good, but if they're on the cornerback and you've got an 88 speed guy and he's going up against one of these top tier wide receivers, he's going to get burnt and it's going to put you in a bad position. So I think the DB, especially the cornerback, your outside cornerback positions are really important. I think kind of like the way importance of a wide receiver with speed kind of to offset the offense. I think that is where you find your value in the DBs, and also I think defensive line as well can be, especially your ends. I think if you got good ends that can rush off the edge, put pressure, that can also help your defensive backs as well. But I really put a lot of emphasis on, I think, my defensive backs, and I think that's kind of the position that really can set you apart, especially when you start locking down opponents and make them one-dimensional.
I'll take the other side of the ball, not because I disagree with Maniac, because I don't. My caveat would be it depends on the player. It depends on the owner, depends on their style, depends on how they want to approach this Madden. And so for Maniac and I, we are better defensive players, even though Maniac is a way better offensive player than I am. Defense is sort of where I can hang my hat, and I am normally an offensive guy. I'm normally a good throwing quarterback guy, and haven't been in the last 8 Maddens. I can't seem to figure it out. But to play the other side of the ball, quarterback's number one. I think you got to have the guy. And usually if you got the guy on a cheap deal, then you're really, really, really golden. Outside of that, it's skill positions, wide receiver, and tight end. And I do think you can get away with lower overalls as long as they have speed. Speed is still going to kill at those two positions. Now, tight end, especially if you're going to run the ball, I think you got to have a little bit more of a balanced guy. And if you have a guy with speed and strength and can block even half decently, then you're going to be pretty good. Those are the positions I think you got to have. Offensive line, we've already sort of touched on that. You got to have a balance. But if you have to pick early in a cycle on offense, quarterback, skill positions, it puts so much pressure and tension on the defense because they have to try to match up speed for speed. That's going to be a bit of a problem. And we have finally done it, Maniac. We've gotten
Oh.
to the end of the show. Give me one final thought, and then we got to let you out of here to go rest, man. You've been pushing through here, an hour and a half long show, talking up a ton, man. I appreciate you. I see you. Give me one final thought as we close out week number 12 here and just got into week number 13.
Yeah, I mean, I just wanted to say this Madden has the most first Madden game. I think it plays crazy at times. It's been really hard for guys. I think there's been a lot said around it. I do think sometimes makes a lot of sense to a lot of guys. But that's just, that's kind of the way. I think once we start, guys will start out like I said, I think from last Madden to this Madden, it was a lot pass. Certain kind of get used to certain routes work, some don't. So you kind of build your offense. And I think this Madden is kind of a little bit different. Some of those routes don't work as well anymore, and then when you call them, you got to make sure you're calling them against a certain defense. You have to make sure it's like a counter. But this is I mean, it's sad to say, 'cause I love Madden. I've been a Madden fan for a long time, but this is probably this is like the second Madden that I can remember that there's just not a lot of people really enjoying it top to bottom. I think there's a lot of potential, but man, it's just been kind of rough. And I know just listening to a lot of the guys in the streams and stuff, it can kind of get on you. It can kind of get you down a little bit and stuff. And it's just I don't know. I'm trying not to let this go too long, but I'm also trying to express myself and express that I know it's difficult, and but I think once maybe, I know I hate to say it, but they get a couple more updates in here, maybe kind of do like we've said, fix the revamp passing a little bit. Some of these other things that that don't work, maybe things will start to kind of iron themselves out and stuff. But definitely, this has been a very controversial, mixed emotion Madden, and this is one of those Maddens where I really thought that was probably going to take the next step, also myself, and it really hasn't. But this group of guys, you, Nate, I really appreciate. Even though that there has been this kind of down portion of Madden, this community, there's always the positives, and there's always the bright spots where guys are hanging out and really enjoying it. And like I said, me personally, through some of the physical experiences, man, I literally died. I literally almost died, from this junk that I had, and just kind of being around here, even though we haven't seen each other personally and stuff, it makes me realize, it's friendships like that. It's important, and I really enjoy being here with the guys, the success or not, for me, from the standpoint, yeah, I know I'm sitting at 92, I'm having some success, but this Madden has really been an up and down, from a standpoint of just being an enjoyable game top to bottom. There's moments where you're like, oh, this game's really, felt good, but then there's other moments what on earth is going on with this game? This game just makes no sense. There's nothing going, I don't understand it. I don't even know how to play the game anymore. It's kind of those thoughts and stuff. But man, this community and stuff, it really means a lot to me, and I really enjoy all the people that are here. It's meant a lot to me personally.
Well, I know I speak for everybody here. We're glad that you're still with us too, and pushing through your you're a survivor. You're somebody who pushes through and knows how to come out on the other side. And it always seems to show up like that in Madden too. You're always one of those guys that get it figured out and get it turned around. But the content, the energy, the contribution that you have made to the OMFL and to the grown folks community, it makes you what you are, and that's a Hall of Famer here in our community. So I'm glad that you're feeling better. I don't have a whole lot to add, man. It's been a good show. We touched on a lot of subjects. It was good to see the mailbag absolutely full. We'll come back to these couple of questions that we didn't get to touch on next week. And yeah, it's been a ton of fun to kind of recap and to look back and to just talk about where we are here in the OMFL. And when we come back, we'll be, getting very close to the playoffs, and we're going to start sniffing them and be able to tell what races are coming down to the last couple of weeks, and what guys have already kind of melded in, and they're starting to look forward to the following Madden or the following week or whatever it may be. So let's get to it. Let's have some fun. Hopefully Mr. Dwayne can rejoin us. Mr. Maniac, go get some rest, brother. Thank you for being here. Praying for you, praying that the energy keeps coming back. Hopefully we get a really great doctor's report, and get yourself on the mend, my brother. Guys, thank you so much. The chat's been awesome. It's been good to see everybody in here. It's been a great overall season. I don't see any major changes coming for season 112. Some minor things in my head, and I don't see many of those happening. I'm going to be interested to see what kind of rule requirements or not, that's not the word I'm looking for, rule suggestions comes from the league, because I think we're in a pretty good place. I'd also just kind of I want to add this note, and then I got caught up in just trying to tell Maniac how much he means to all of us here, but I would touch on Maniac and I have had many super late, early morning conversations about how the way they make Madden is just not made for the style in which we play here in the OMFL, which is why I'm constantly pushing us to think outside of the box, to push ourselves and our rule set, to open ourselves up a little bit more, because the whole fact that we can still play no switch feels like a dying breed of football. And I can envision a day where we have to go back to switch and sort of overcome whatever obstacles that kind of creates, because they're just not making the game to play the way that we play it. Even though I feel like they've done a few things this Madden to make it better than last Madden, overall the game is the way we play it and the way we enjoy playing it in the OMFL is becoming harder and harder. But I feel like we've got a really great group of guys that will continue to fight to figure it out. Dudes, thank you so much. Maniac, thank you, man. I'm praying for you. I love you. Hopefully you'll get up on the mend here really, really soon. If you're looking for a college league, the Deuce has got some things, your waiting list, you can go join there. The OMFL College is a small league for small schools, but you can come and join one of those. If you're looking for a Madden league, we've got the NBC ran by Mr. Joker here, and of course the OMFL has a waiting list rock and rolling. If you're playing the new Off the Grid and PUBG and a bunch of other new shooter games that are coming out, if you're playing it, we got a group of people here that are playing it. If you're an adult looking to make some good connections with some really awesome people and play the games that you enjoy playing, come check out Grown Folks. The details are down in the description. I love you. I appreciate you. You matter. Come hang out with me a little later this week as we stream some OMFL action and hopefully some Off the Grid or some PUBG or something here pretty soon. Guys, take care of yourselves. Take care of those around you. Peace and love. We'll see you in the next one.
Deuces.
Smash that like and subscribe.